4.5, graph using slope-intercept form. So finding slope, or finding the slope and y-intercept of a line. So we have a linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b is written in slope-intercept form. Where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept of the equation's graph. So if you have y equals mx plus b, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So mathematically, it would look like y is equal to 1/3 x plus 2. So 1/3 would be your slope and 2 would be your y-intercept. Let's see if I can put. So then if we were to look at the graph of this, we would have a y-intercept at 2, and then our slope is 1/3, which means, remember, it was rise over run, so this is a slope of up 1, right 3. So up 1, right 1, 2, 3, and then they would just connect it. So that's what the graph would look like for y is equal to 1/3 x plus 2. Now, obviously, we'll go through and go step by step, but that's just to have a visual of what that looks like. All right, so today we'll probably do the stuff leading up to the graph, and then tomorrow we'll actually graph is probably what's going to happen. The first problem say to identify the slope and y-intercept of the line with the given equation. So something like number 4, if y is equal to negative x, oh, that's it, y is equal to negative x. So slope is always going to be the number with the sign that's in front of x. So what number is in front of x? With the sign.
Oh, sign.
Yeah, -1. So then our y-intercept, okay, which is b, is anything that comes after this, which in this case there isn't anything, so we just say that it's 0. Now 6, y is equal to -7 plus 5x. Now this one is written backwards, so we need to rewrite it first. Okay, we want the number with the x to be touching the equal sign. So I just need to flip these two terms here. So I need to rewrite this as y is equal to 5x minus 7. Okay, so y'all see what I did? I just literally just took the two things and just swapped them. So then my slope would be equal to what? What number's in front of x?
-7.
In front of x.
Oh,
5. And then my y-intercept is what comes after that, which would be what? Yeah, -7. Let's see. Number 8. Y is equal to -1/4 times x plus 8. So this one is written in the right order. We always want it in y equals mx plus b. So what is my slope of this one? -1/4. And then my y-intercept?
8.
8. Okay. So just to talk about what these slopes mean for each of these, okay? This one is a negative slope, okay? So it's a slope of -1. So what this means, it's always rise over run. So don't forget that. So the negative tells if it's negative or positive, it tells us if it's going up or down. Okay? So this one is going down 1, right 1. Okay? Because you can interpret this as -1/1, which is how we would know that it's also going right 1. So anytime you have a whole number with slope, it's always up or down whatever number that you have, and then right 1 is how we would do the other part. So then our slope for number 6, it's rise over run, so that is the rise part, so we can interpret this as 5/1, so it's going to be up 5, right 1. And that's how to get from the first point to the next point to the next point, and so on and so forth.
Is the right always going to be 1?
No. So in number 8, I'll show you how it's not. Okay. So in number 8, then, our slope is rise over run. Okay? So the negative tells us that it's going to be going down. So it's rise, but it's down 1. So it's going to be down 1 and then right 4. Okay. So the number that's on the bottom is always left and right. The number on the top is always up and down. Okay. The negative sign tells you it's down, positive is up, because that's what gives us the difference between a slope like this and a slope like this, basically. So that's where it kind of goes back to the last section that we did in terms of looking at a slope and telling if it's positive or negative. Now, it didn't ask you for this. I just thought it was good to point it out to get ready for graphing. So the next one say to rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. So basically it's not written in y equals mx plus b, so we're going to have to rewrite it. And then it says to identify the slope and y-intercept, so it's just adding another step to these problems, basically. So number 12, x minus y is equal to 6. So I need to get y by itself. So how would I get y by itself? What do I need to do first?
Just like flip them?
Well, I need to only have y left on that side. So how do I undo? Minus x on both sides. So negative y is equal to negative x plus 6. And again, I kind of mentioned this when we were solving before, but I always do it in this order because I'm trying to get y equals mx plus b. So then what do I need to do with this negative sign?
Divide it by 1.
Yep, divide by -1 for everything. So that cancels on this side, so I'm left with y is equal to Negative x divided by negative 1 is going to become positive x. Then positive 6 divided by negative 1 is going to be negative 6. So my equation in slope-intercept form is y is equal to x minus 6. So then what is my slope? 1. And my y-intercept? Negative 6. Okay, so this slope, it's 1. So it means up 1, right 1. Okay, we can imagine it as 1 over 1. So up 1, right 1. Let's see, 14. Negative 12x minus 4y is equal to 2. So how do I get y by itself in this one? Add 12x on both sides first. So I have negative 4y is equal to 12x plus 2. And then what do I do? Divide by negative 4 from everything. So that leaves me with just a y on the left is equal to 12x divided by negative 4 is negative 3x. And then 2 divided by negative 4, that's just going to reduce to negative 1/2. And fractions aren't as bad in these because it's just graphing. So it's not, you know, you're not like having to plug something in and solve it or whatever. So my slope would be what?
Negative 3.
Yep, negative 3. And then my y-intercept would be what?
Negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2. Yep. And let's see. 16 negative x minus 10y is equal to 20. So I need to get y by itself again. So what would I need to do first? Add x, not subtract, add. So then I have negative 10y is equal to x plus 20. And then what? Divide by negative 10. So on the left, that leaves me with just y equals x divided by negative 10. I would, not that you have to, but I would rewrite this as negative 1 over 10 times x just so that you can see your slope better when you go to do it. And then 20 divided by negative 10 would be negative 2. So that's your equation of your line there. And then what would your slope be?
Negative 1/10.
Yep, negative 1 over 10. And then your y-intercept?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So I didn't write for these ones what was happening. So in number 14, my slope of negative 3, okay, we can imagine this as negative 3 over 1. So rise, but it's negative, so it's going to be down 3, right 1. So then I'm going to see, can y'all tell me what this one, what the negative 1 over 10 is telling me to do?
Down 1. Wait. I mean, yeah, 10.
Right 10. Yep.
Wait. If it's negative, if the whole thing's negative, it would still be right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the negative is telling you that it's going down, so it's got to be going down in the other direction, because if it's down and left, then it's going to be a positive.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes, and I won't do this initially because I don't want to confuse y'all, but a lot of times when I get graphing, especially like farther up in math, I will say you can either go up 1, right 1, or you can go down 1, back 1, meaning down 1, left 1. and it'll get you the same thing, because sometimes you end up with a point like way out in, you know, Never Land over here, and it's a lot easier, instead of having to make your graph super big, to go in the up, like in the backwards direction. But to not confuse you initially, we will only go in the right direction, so it pretty much should always be right.
Okay.
So the negative sign just tells you if it's up or down. If it's positive, it's up. Negative, it's down. And then how many is the numerator, and then your denominator is right or left, but for our sake, right.
Okay.
Let's see. Just because I don't want to make a graph that big, I'm not going to do this one. Let me see if... All right, I'm going to do from guided practice, I'm going to do one of the problems, but we'll do this stuff first, and then we'll go ahead and graph one just so you can see it of where are we going tomorrow, and then I'll let y'all work on some of these, and then tomorrow we'll actually do graphing is what we'll do. So 3x minus 3y is equal to 12. So I want to do the same thing first. I need it in y equals mx plus b, okay, which is slope-intercept form of the line, and then we'll talk about how to graph it. So how do I get y by itself for this one? Minus 3x, so that leaves us with negative 3y is equal to negative 3x plus 12. Then what?
Divide negative 3.
Divide negative 3 from everything. So that leaves me with y is equal to negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. So that's just going to be, you can write it as 1x or just x, I don't care. And then 12 divided by negative 3 is going to be negative 4. So you have y is equal to basically x minus 4 is my equation. So then my slope would be what?
1.
Slope is 1, and y-intercept is?
4. Negative 4.
Negative 4. So what does this slope mean to do?
Up 1, right 1.
Yep, up 1, right 1. And I would say for a while, start out writing what that slope means every time, because that way you get used to it, and so then you don't you make a habit of it now. Once you start actually graphing, makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to set up a graph here. And each line I'm going to let be 1, so I'm not going to label them or anything. All right, so what the very first thing that we do is we plot the y-intercept, okay? So your first point is always going to occur on your y-axis, okay? So my y-intercept is negative 4. So I go down 4, and I put a point. And then from there, from this point, I do my slope. So we said it's up 1, right 1, so I go up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. And normally my general rule will be 3 points, okay, just like we did when we did the table. And so you'll graph 3 points. I just did 4 because these ones are so, tight together. And then you just have to have the marker and not the eraser, and just connect them. And that's all you have to do for those ones. Have y'all done graphing this way before? Did you do this in pre-algebra?
It seems easier because last year did not get it.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things that usually takes time to understand, because a lot of times, and that's why I'm saying too, write out what that slope means. So even though the instructions don't necessarily say that in your homework, write out every time what does that slope mean, and then tomorrow we can go over them and we can talk about making sure that we understand, because if you don't know what the slope means, your graph will always be wrong. So I'd rather us make sure that we know what that means before we really start graphing. So you will do, let's see, 3 through 15 odd. Now, number 9 is a multiple choice question, but it just asks what the slope of the line is, so you're just picking what the slope is from that equation, so it's not anything any different. One of the problems, or maybe not, hold on. Never mind, nothing ends up, I thought something is going to end up being a mixed number, but it's not. So, yeah, any questions? Good, okay.